role of the honeybee is crucial to the very fabric of human life. However, despite the impact honeybees play in providing us with a wide variety of beneficial products to fostering pollination on a global scale, the very setting in which they live in is tearing them apart.
You want to respect the bees. You have to understand them, but we have to do our best to keep them alive. But essentially there's so much stuff going on with the bees, whether it's pesticides, whether it's parasites such as mites, as well as the climate and starvation. When it's too rainy, the nectar gets washed off the flowers and the trees and there's no food. If it's not rainy at all, there's a drought and then there's no flowers.
Terry and her husband Gary Butler own and run their company Half Moon Bay Honey. They take care of around 200 to 500 hives along the coast side of San Mateo County between Montera and Pescadero. Terry is a member of the Beekeepers Guild of San Mateo County, where Thomas D. Seeley spoke last April. Thomas is the Horace White Professor in Biology at Cornell University, as well as author of several books on honeybee behavior. He says his greatest fear for the honeybees is how humans will make life so hard by poisoning their environment, reducing their food supply, and fostering the spread of diseases that more and more colonies will sicken and die.
The greatest thing to harm the bees, without a shadow of doubt, actually, is mankind. You know, we're hitting them from every direction. We have overbreeding. I believe that's a problem. All the beekeepers want a fluffy little yellow bee that makes lots of honey. Well, they do that, but they don't seem to survive the winters too well.
Ray Wolfgram is a beekeeper and co-founder of NorCal Honeybee Rescue, where he answers calls from the community to collect lost swarms and reinstate them in a new home. Like Ray, farmer John Muller understands the dangers that come with human interference. With the care of over 50,000 plants, pollination is a key factor, especially in the care of 2 giant pumpkins, each over 1,000 pounds. He plans to bring in some 15 hives for that purpose.
Well, our greatest worries in California, which we're all facing, is urbanization. And I think the problem is pollution also. People are just not aware of dumping all their trash on the trails, on the farms.
Thomas D. Seeley says, "There is no plan B, no replacement for the honeybees who offer the pollination services we need to maintain our food production. We need the bees, honeybees, and all the other species that support our food production and our ecosystems."
It's the pollination, it's the food source, and it's not just the food source for your typical fruits, your apples, blueberries, strawberries, artichokes, things like that, but it's also pollinating the alfalfa, which is grain, which then the cows will eat for milk and for meat kind of stuff. So it's the whole food source that we're helping to provide.
Well, they're probably the most vital, important creature we have on Earth, because without them we're going to have no food products because of the pollination. So they probably are the queen of all of agriculture. Without the bees, I'll have no pumpkins that hold, because our fruits will self-abort if they're not pollinated properly.
People have no idea how much the honeybee does for, this planet. I mean, without them, we'd be really in bad shape. We're at present losing 44% of our bees a year, and we're almost at 50%. And once we pass 50%, we're going towards extinction. If you take away the bee, your grocery store will be pretty much empty.
Aware of the profound impact honeybees have, Azucena Duran, a senior, is the supervisor of Cromwell High School's Human Relations Commission. She helps run the newly created Save the Bees Day event during early September.
We wanted to raise awareness around this activity because we feel like this kind of gets overlooked, and we know bees are very important for the environment, so it kind of just ties in with our role about making people aware about their environmental impact and getting them to interact a little bit more.
We believe that honey is one of the most magical foods in the world. It never goes bad. They've found honey 3,000 years old that's still edible. It's got antimicrobial properties. And so again, the bees give us the honey, they give us the wax. When you burn a wax candle, essentially it puts ions into the air that makes the dust settle. So that way essentially it cleans out your air too. So the bee gives us too many good things for us to mess with it. So you have to keep it around.
I mean, it's really an amazing superfood. They're just an amazing insect that's been around forever and ever, and they make some of the best stuff on the planet. There's even now medihoney, which is pharmaceutical grade medical honey.
Bella Gould, a senior, runs the Beekeeping Club, a fairly new student organization at Menlo School. Like Azucena, Bella works to help the honeybees by raising awareness in her high school peers.
The club is honestly just dedicated around bringing people together to experience beekeeping and to work on hives. All of the profits that we make that don't go back into the club go to the organizations that are for conserving bees and bringing that awareness. All of the wax that we get from the hive and from scraping the frames, it goes back into the club for other products. So nothing's really going to waste here, which is really cool.
We really love our bees. Pollinators are a very popular asset to human life, so we like to host them.
Thomas D. Seeley said, "My greatest hope is for humans, especially commercial beekeepers, to be kinder and gentler to the honeybees."
We're really big into the heritage flowers, so essentially we want flowers to pollen and get messy on your countertop, because that's the beauty of true flowers. We don't want fake flowers. We want bees to have that food.
So the main thing is try to find some plants that are conducive to our honeybees in your yards and gardens, and try to protect them as best as you can. And they move and they travel, but don't be afraid of the honeybee.
I think that just in general, being mindful about where you're buying from, what you're understanding from other companies that are using it, and just continuing to be able to spread the awareness of what you do know is super important, especially to people that are younger.
I feel like student impact or takeaway, they should be able to harvest these ideas and kind of come up with their own to better impact our community.
The honeybee rarely will it sting. First of all, if they sting you, they die. Their stinger gets pulled out. Secondly, if you leave the bees alone, they usually leave you alone. The one thing I tell you about the honeybees is that they need you. Without them, our future's pretty bleak.
Reporting from Scott Center News, I'm Mandy Hitchcock.